Well, hey man, I appreciate you hopping on this live, and I know, like I was just mentioning, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I know you've been at UConn for 2 or 3 years now. Is that correct?
Yeah,
But you've
this is
been
third year here. Yep.
third year, nice, very nice, and you've and that time you've got some nice accomplishments underneath your belt with the team.
Yeah. I mean, 3 years, three pieces of hardware. So looking to extend that streak here going into year four.
I love it. I love it. And before this, so prior to UConn, what's kind of been your experience in this space?
Yeah, so I've been a sport dietitian, working with basketball teams really for the past 11 years. So I kind of started off at University of North Carolina. I was there for a couple of years and made a tour west. So I was at Baylor University for a couple of years, University of Colorado. And then after COVID, my wife and I, we moved back closer to Boston, where I'm from originally. So I was doing some consulting work with Providence College with them for a couple of years, and then most recently landed here at UConn. So yeah, I've been in the high performance basketball space for a long time, and I was a college basketball player myself at the D3 level, but just really passionate about working with basketball players.
I love it. I
So it's
love it. I
been
love
great.
it. And just having worked with players at that level, you would think, hey, you're going D1, you're playing at UConn, arguably the best program, if at the very least a top five program in the nation right now. Uh, when you get to that level, I imagine you probably just expect, oh, these guys have their stuff already in order. I don't have to do that much, but and maybe you can expand upon that to say, is that true? Is that not true? What's kind of the feel, or what do you normally see with guys?
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say, again, working with D1 guys the past, decade or so, some of them come in, having all their kind of habits in place, really know how to take care of their bodies the right way. A lot of it just kind of depends on like what high school they've gone to, what, kind of support systems they have, whether it's like a nutritionist, strength coach, stuff like that in high school. But the majority, like, just really don't have a clue. Obviously,
Mm,
like super talented, and that's why they're here. That's why they're at those
right.
programs. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there in the first place. But in terms of like actually teaching them how to be a pro with those habits, I mean, eating breakfast, how to hydrate the right way, right? Like how much food it actually takes to perform at this level. Sleep, all these different things are is a big learning curve for them, especially that first year of college.
Nice. Yeah. And I can definitely see that, and on more on my side, I work predominantly with high schoolers, and that's, when we talk to guys, obviously we don't have near the knowledge that you have, or near the experience, from a nutritional standpoint as you do. But things you mentioned, and honestly, I kind of think it's like, low hanging fruit: eating breakfast, how much water you
Mm-hmm.
have, you know. So talk to me
100%.
a little bit about that. I mean, as far as, what does that mean for a player who, isn't eating breakfast or not getting enough water? Like, what does that do to them as a player, as a human, but maybe, and even as a performance standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our guys again, they come in June, so they're trying to put on weight. Like we're trying to get them physically ready for the upcoming season. Big East is a very physical conference, and we play a hard non-conference schedule as well. So it's like you have to get your body physically ready.
Mm,
And again, majority of guys are just not there coming out of high school. Maybe like Steph Castle last year, like he had a NBA ready body, but
yeah.
majority of guys don't come in with that, and they're skipping breakfast, and then they have like individual work, they have weight room work in the morning, and they're gassed, right? They don't have the energy to kind of get through the training. It's like really a grind and a struggle for them to do that day after day because they're not putting any gas in the tank, before those training sessions.
Hmm.
And then they just notice that their body is starting to break down, from doing that week in and week out. Same thing with the hydration piece. A lot of like, soft tissue injuries, hamstrings are big, obviously basketball,
Yes.
cramping, calf type stuff. So, I mean, even like from a cognitive functioning, right? Like quick decision making on the court, just being able to like think, focus, like retain all the information that the coach is trying to give you. Like if you're dehydrated, underfueled, in a fatigue state, like, good luck getting the most out of that training session. So
Yeah.
it's a huge component. So, the nice thing about the college level is like everything is very structured. So
Yeah,
like we have team breakfast, hydration, post workout nutrition, lunch, like everything is mapped out for them like to the minute. And that's where a lot of high school guys struggle because they don't really have a set like
structure.
routine or schedule, exactly structure there because
Yeah,
they just never really kind of sat down and kind of went through with anyone or taken the time to do it themselves. So they get kind of lost in just the chaos of their busy schedule. And, nutrition and eating, hydration is usually one of the things that kind of, gets forgotten about.
yeah. No, yeah, and I definitely see that a lot on our side, and that's kind of where, honestly, because of that, we've taken a little bit more of a stance or a little bit more of an aggressive approach with making sure that, like, hey, at least being somewhat educated on it. You mentioned about, adding, these guys are looking to add size and, the physicality of the game. And we see guys now, or, honestly, over these last, 10, 20 years, guys like, LeBron, guys like, LeBron came in the league as a specimen, but even looking at guys like Giannis, who, 10 years ago did not look like what he looks like today. Looking at guys like Wemby, who were
Mhm.
twigs coming in the league, and, not saying they're just, bodybuilders at this point, but he's physically bigger. What does, and because they're eating more. So what, when we think about how much these guys are eating, or when you think about adding more fuel, what does this do for them, not just from a physicality standpoint, but just overall from a performance standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, performance, it really changes. It's a game changer for them, right? Because so many of these guys come in under fuel, just not eating enough for the training that they're doing. I mean, we practice hard.
Yeah.
When I was at Carolina with Roy Williams, like they practiced hard. It was like nonstop, go, go, go. And it's a
Yeah.
lot different than AAU and high school, right?
Yeah.
So they have that kind of hard time, like transitioning to a faster pace, harder intensity, longer duration practices if they're not giving their body the adequate fuel, right? So you just can't perform well. There's a lot of research and studies. I won't bore you with the stats, but just looking at, shooting percentages, injury
No,
risk,
please
like all the,
bore us with those stats. I love it. Let's get
yeah,
into the
yeah. I
nitty gritty.
mean,
Let's call people out. This is what this is about.
I mean, yeah, even from a breakfast standpoint, like there's been studies done at University of Kansas
Yeah.
showing that like if you eat breakfast versus when you don't eat breakfast, your like shooting percentage on the court in all areas from 3 point line,
Yeah.
2 point field goals, free throws, all decreased if you were not eating breakfast
That's
compared
crazy.
to when they fed the guys. Yeah. So like that's a huge, huge component. So it's like, if you can make 2% more of your shots, doesn't sound like a lot, but like that's a big difference when you think about
Oh yeah.
getting it at practice, game type
That's
situations, free throws, things like that. So it's huge. And then yeah, from like a physicality standpoint, like again, like you said, in order to actually gain weight and put on healthy muscle mass, like you have to be eating. So that's why we have such a structured routine, and that really benefits the guys because when they're eating breakfast, they're eating 4 to 5 times consistently during the day. They're able to get in the calories that they need. Like these, some of our guys need, 4,000 to 6,000 calories a day. And if you're only eating 2 times a day, like
you're
I
not
mean, you'd
hitting
be either eating some massive meals, which is going to make you feel like crap, and then that's going to impact you on the court, right? Because your stomach's feeling full, bloated, like you're going to puke your brains out, or you're just not going to be able to get in the calories that you need to really gain weight. And you got these guys who are eating these massive meals, especially like dinner and later in the day, and then wonder why, oh, why am I not gaining weight even though I'm eating a ton? And it's like, yeah, you're eating a ton for 1 to 2 meals, but you're not even coming close to what you actually need with all the training and basketball that you're doing.
I get this one all the time from guys, and they say, "Well, I just have a fast metabolism."
Yeah, yeah, it's complete BS. It's the oldest
I love
excuse
it.
in the
That's
book.
right here. This is UConn's dietitian saying right now, calling out
Yep.
every high schooler, every player who's ever said, "Well, I just have a fast metabolism." Oh, my kid has a fast metabolism. Complete
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You just
Now,
I hear that and I'm like, yeah, you don't actually know like how much you need to eat. If we mapped it out and like, oh, you need 4,000 calories and this is how you're going to get it, like you will gain weight if you're eating that much, guaranteed.
yes. Thank you. So now getting on to maybe perhaps the other side, because this is always a fear with guys, and I see it way too much. And just maybe hearing it from someone else or someone again, someone who's very educated on this standpoint. How much weight is too much weight in the game of basketball?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, we'll kind of take an approach of looking at each individual guy because, again, frame size, body type, I mean, there's so many different kind of nuances to that. But we use a metric called fat-free mass index. So essentially
Okay.
looking at how much muscle mass you have based on your based on your frame, based on your height. So people on the live here probably have heard of like BMI, which your doctor might use, right? So body mass index, that's looking at your weight compared to your height, but it doesn't take into account the composition of that weight. So by looking at fat free mass index, like for a basketball player, we want that fat free mass index to be somewhere in like the mid 20s, mid to low 20s, right? So maybe from a range of like 20 to about 22, 23 is a pretty good place to be, which tells us you have a good amount of muscle mass for your height. We have got some guys will come in, and even like players that I work with, right, their fat free mass index is like 16, 17, 18, which just tells us that that's just A, not enough, and we have a lot of room to be able to grow and put size and mass on this individual. So as they're gaining weight, we're monitoring body composition, we're monitoring how much muscle mass they're putting on, and then
Yeah.
with that metric of fat free mass index, we know kind of when to stop, based on like their specific body type.
Gotcha. Now, for someone who, let's just say, they don't have access to resources like that, how how do they determine those things? How do they figure out? Well, I'm adding enough weight or I'm not adding enough weight. How do they determine that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, some of that is going to be subjective too. I mean, I feel like a lot of places now, like you have access, like gyms will have it, like whether it's like a Lifetime Fitness or other places just in the local community. There's some way, shape, or form that you can get like a body composition test done. Some places you can do it for free. Some places will cost you probably like 25, $50. But you can get that done and then just use like an online calculator to see what your fat free mass index is and then monitor that over time. For other guys, I mean, yeah, I guess I don't really have a good answer for you in terms of like where they need to be from a weight standpoint, but I mean, waist circumference is one thing that's a pretty easy one, or just kind of
Yeah.
taking pictures just to check out the composition of that weight, right? Like pre and post photos, and then just really kind of like assessing how you feel on the court.
Hmm.
Right, because if you're
Yeah.
starting to gain like too much weight, too much muscle, like your speed, your agility, change of direction, vertical jump, like if those things are being impacted in a negative way, then odds are you're putting on weight either like too much too quickly, or you're just getting like a little bit too muscle bound.
Gotcha.
So I
Gotcha.
know I don't have like a really good answer there for you as far as like
No, no.
um,
But I
athletes who
think
don't have access to like tools like that.
yeah, no, 100%. And you mentioned a few things that I really like. When it comes to because not everyone has the resources or a coach or someone to work with at all times, and so like mentioning things like I think with how you feel on the court, right? And being
Hmm.
able to, say, hey, I still feel fine. I still feel good. I still feel strong. And so many times when I work with guys and they've put on healthy weight. We just had a kid actually this past year, freshman, and I remember him coming in. He was at, a buck 20. And I'm like, oh boy. And he's like 5'10". And so
Yeah.
he is literally like string bean. And
Hmm.
now he's at 145 and I mean 25 pounds over the last 6, 7, 8 months, and we're just like and now we're hearing it from teammates and people who've played against him that he's like, oh, this guy's so fast now, and
Yeah.
really showing that off. So I think there's something to be said about that when you not only how you feel, but now other people are noticing how you look on the court, and that's such a big deal. That's such a
Oh,
big
big
deal.
time.
But the other thing I'm hearing from you is, hey, don't just measure your body weight. All right, keep track of keeping track of so many different numbers is so big.
Hmm.
So when you have a weightlifting program or a, on court program, keeping track of your vertical, keeping track of your speed, keeping track of maybe your progression in the weight room, but also your progression outside the weight room, on the court. So the more numbers that we can track, the better. Because
100%.
hey, you may not have the as nice of tests to access your ability to say, hey, I'm at the perfect, perfect body weight within 0.3%.
Hmm.
But we still track it. There's still ways, and there's still a reason not to, kind of say, well, I can't do it.
For sure. Yeah, and I always encourage like my guys too, like don't use the scale as like the sole
This,
outcome for success,
yes,
right? Like
yes,
weight gain is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you're trying
yeah,
to put on 15, 20 pounds, like it's not going to happen in a month, month and a half. So like you have to be comfortable and just know that it's going to take time and there's going
yes,
to be a process to it. But at the same point, don't get discouraged. Like if we're aiming for, 2 to 4 pounds per month for a rate of weight gain, like don't get discouraged if you only gain a pound and a half or it's only 2 pounds, right?
yeah,
Like look at the other areas of your performance of just like subjectively your sleep, right? Your mood, your energy, like those things. Like those are other indicators that you're giving your body enough energy, like you're doing the right things to make you a better basketball player in addition to the weight, right? It's not just all about the weight. That's an important piece, but it's not the only thing that matters.
this is so interesting, so interesting. So Tim, I want to give you a quick little piece right here where tell us what do you track? Because I know you don't just work with UConn's players. You have your own business as well, where you work with players all over the country and I assume all over the world as well. What do you track with those types of players?
Yeah, yeah, all over the world. Got a lot of guys and girls. Yeah, so I mean, we do like the thing that's really important to me from a performance standpoint, longevity, health, is looking at like blood work side of things. So we do that, with our Division 1 guys, but like that can really give you a lot of insight as to like how your body is responding at different times of years or different times of the year in the season, like to the stresses that you're being put under, right? So preseason, your body has certain types of demands being put on it. In season, again, more practice time, more games, more travel, harder, more intense stress being put on the body. So a
Yeah.
lot of programs, athletes will use, more like external monitors of stress and load, whether it's
Okay.
GPS, Plantiga footwear, force plates, things like that, which certainly are helpful. But I like to take a more like inside the body look at these things and
Yeah.
do some blood work so we can see like what are the stress levels that your body is going under. You
Gotcha.
might be thinking that you're eating really well and like clean, if you will, but there still are going to be nutritional gaps there from a vitamin and mineral deficiency standpoint that
Yeah.
could be impacting your health and performance. So I want to know all of that about an individual so that way I can actually build out their nutrition plan for them, right? So it's
Yeah.
very specific and individualized to them so we can get them whatever they need to feel great, perform, and
Yeah.
that type of stuff. So blood work we're monitoring, obviously in terms of like the nutrition side of things, just like their overall calories, their protein, carbs, intake, like that way, because again those things are going to change as well, right? So like for our guys, we have official practices starting next week. Like that's about to be a 20-hour week compared to an 8-hour week training wise. So with that big jump, it's more than double the amount of time that you're spending on the court.
Yeah.
If you're eating the same in that 20-hour week that you're eating in an 8-hour week,
Gotta
like
bump it
forget
up,
about it.
man. You gotta
Exactly.
bump
You got
it
to be
up.
bumping up everything. So, static meal plans, like, hey, here's a PDF. This is what you got to do. Like, in my opinion, of doing this a long time, just doesn't work because nutrition is so dynamic with what your
Yes.
body needs in a given week, in a given month, in a given like phase of the season. So we have to be able to know like what your body requires to appropriately prescribe nutrition for them.
So kind of like, maybe being in the weight room or being on the court, but having constant testing is such a crucial thing, it sounds like.
100%. 100%.
Awesome. Awesome. And you mentioned, the types of, you think you're eating healthy, but you might not actually be eating healthy based off of blood work. In your experience, what have you seen when it comes to, what's the difference in the types of food we eat when it comes to getting bigger, faster, and more explosive?
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing, right? Because I mean, 4,000 calories of fast food is, in theory, the same amount of calories as 4,000 calories of healthy, clean food, right? So if that's
Right.
someone's weight gain target, that person's still going to gain weight. But kind of using the analogy of like a car and like an engine, right? It's like you can go get a $400,000, sports car, and if you're putting like the lowest quality gas, the lowest grade fuel in that tank, like it's still going to get from A to B, but over time, like that engine's going to wear down. There's going to be more problems with it. You're going to have to put a lot more time and energy into maintaining it because the engine's breaking down from that garbage fuel.
Mm,
Versus if you're putting in the highest quality fuel that that engine requires, being that expensive of a car, it's like
yeah,
that thing's going to be humming, right?
yeah,
It's going to last a lot longer, not break down, not have any issues because you're putting in the right fuel. And our bodies are the same way. It's like guys can get away with, eating the fast food, junk food, and still have, like energy to perform at times, but on the flip side, it's like that's not great fuel for your body. So like there's inflammation going on in there that's not allowing you to recover. You're missing key areas of micronutrition, right? Vitamin D, other kind of vitamins and minerals that play a factor into performance and nutrition or performance and health, right?
yeah.
So you're not giving your body the right type of fuel, then you're going to start to feel those side effects, the low energy, the fatigue, the brain fog, stomach issues, things that are going to affect you in your day-to-day life, which ultimately affects you being the best player.
Definitely, definitely. And you mentioned, that longevity with, eating healthier and things like that. And I know, just kind of going over some of your stuff, you've talked about how there are precursors. You can find some precursors within your diet on potential injuries that can come up.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about that. How, what kind of precursors do we see, or, is there something that, you can only see on a blood work panel, or is it something that you can see just even physically?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of it will be, blood work based because again, we're looking at
Yeah.
exactly what is going
Right.
on in your body as opposed to guessing, right? So even something as simple as vitamin D, like a lot of research tied to low vitamin D levels and increased risk of like ACL and lower body ligament and tendon injuries, up to like 81% higher risk when you have low vitamin D. That's
Wow.
across all athletes, not just basketball athletes, but basketball athletes inherently just because of the sport, it's an indoor sport, just the
Right.
season that you play in, a
Yeah.
lot of times have really low vitamin D. So, like,
Mm.
that's even just one simple thing that we can look at to assess kind of injury risk, as well as, like, I mean, there's other factors, just looking at even like markers in the urine, right? So we can see
Yeah.
bone turnover, collagen turnover, doing certain like urine based tests
Yeah.
to see like what that looks like, right? So we map that kind of turnover of how quickly your body is breaking down bone and collagen, which is a building block for those ligaments and tendons. And then nutrition wise, are you giving your body the things that are required to rebuild bone and rebuild collagen and strengthen those things? And if you're not, then it's like we know there's going to be a big issue there.
Yeah. No, I can imagine so, and like that's fascinating to me. I had no idea about the vitamin D. That's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about all these things, and it sounds like it's like there's so many details that, honestly at the high school or just pre, Division 1 university level that are just never accounted for with these athletes. So I mean, and let's maybe there's not the resources there necessarily for lower level colleges. But what about prep schools? Do you feel like these prep schools need to be putting a little greater focus? Because I know that at some prep schools, they don't put any focus on nutrition.
Yeah, which is a real shame that they don't do that. It's a big problem because I think too.
Yeah.
It's like the earlier that you can start building those habits, right?
Good
It's like
habits. Yes.
yeah, it's like it's going to translate down the road. Number one, but like for these prep schools, like
Yes.
they're still competing for championships and like want to have like the
Yeah.
best players come to their school, right?
Yes.
So it's like if you want your team to perform better, stay healthier,
Mhm.
and last longer throughout the course of the season, where like other teams and programs are breaking down, like that's an area that is overlooked. That if you make some changes to and put some more time and attention and effort in, like you're gonna see a big return on that investment. I mean, that's part of the reason why. I mean, it really started in college football, but more and more of the high level Division 1 universities have people like me have full time sport nutritionists on staff because like their athletes need to be able to fuel the right way. Like that
Yeah.
is an
Oh,
advantage
100%.
that you have. Like that's an
Yeah.
advantage that we have being able to do the testing that we're doing and all the high level stuff, like that's an advantage over schools that don't have those same resources, and that allows us to win more games and
Yes.
go further in the tournament. It's the same thing at
Yes.
the high school level.
Yes. And that's such a big deal because, and I think more people should pay attention to this one area of when it comes to athletics as a whole. Is we see these great teams in the first month of a season, such fantastic teams, whether it's at the Division I college level or the pro level, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 months into that, what do we see? Teams fall off because of injury, and
Mm-hmm.
and as you mentioned, I mean, just something from like an ACL tear, how the vitamin D levels are like drastically lower in people who
Yep.
have ACL tears. And if that sort of thing is not monitored, it's like, well, are you really setting your team up for success if you're not even monitoring something as simple as vitamin D or not even
Right.
addressing vitamin D? So, when it comes to the importance of nutrition and an expert like you to have on staff, honestly, I think I feel like it's invaluable
Yeah, for
because
sure.
you get you keep the guys healthy, we win championships. Guess what? Guess who gets more funding for the school or for that program or things like that? They
Right.
do. They benefit from that. So it's a win-win at the end. It's a win-win-win all the way around. You get an opportunity to take care of people. These athletes stay healthy and give themselves the best opportunity to play at the next level or make more money as a whole and help
Mm-hmm.
their families. And then these programs are winning and they're bringing in better opportunities for themselves. So
100%. Yeah,
it only
unfortunately,
seems to make sense.
yeah, I was gonna say one of the things that I have at least seen or heard observationally is from teams who kind of have like resistance to that is like, oh, like these guys don't even care about nutrition. Like they just want to eat, the junk food, fried food, whatever. And it's like, to some degree, sure. Like especially at the younger like high school levels, like the guys do tend to gravitate more towards the fast food and kind of that like, comfort food type stuff. But it's not that they really don't care. I think a lot of times is they just don't really know the connection between how they're fueling themselves and then performance, right? No one's ever kind of like connected the dots for them there. So
Yes.
once you kind of do that and show them, like I've never really had any issues like creating buy-in with players or teams as
Yeah.
far as like, hey, this is really important. Like this is what we want you to do, because ultimately these guys are ambitious players. They're competitive. They want to win. They want to be the best. They want to go on and have pro careers. Or the high school guys
Yes.
want to go get a D1 scholarship. So it's like you should want to do everything within your power and control to give yourself an advantage, to give yourself an edge, to make that happen. And if you're not like willing to look at nutrition or focus on your sleep or some of these other areas, it's like then you're not really serious about getting to whatever your goal is. You're just kind of like giving a lot of lip service at the end of the day.
Agreed. And that's where, because let's be honest, with at the collegiate level, especially with these guys, it's not just a college scholarship or winning a championship that's on the line. Now it's 10, 20, 40, 100, $200,000 on the line for
Mm-hmm.
their careers. Because you know what? That money that they make when you're in college, they could get injured, not play for the rest of their lives and be okay. But on the
Right.
flip side of things, they could also go on to make on millions of dollars if they understand that, hey, nutrition plays a huge part in my health and my performance of this game. And like you
100%.
said, if you take the time to educate these guys, there's buy-in. They'll change. They'll learn to change fast because this has become such a competitive market. The whole youth athletics and just athletics as a whole has become more and more competitive over the
Mm-hmm.
last years because how much money is getting into this stuff. So, what do you think the players want to do? They want to get better because if they're going to get that chance, they know that they have to be smarter on every aspect of their health. And so you talk to them about their nutrition. Honestly, just even I think you throw that percentage out there with vitamin D and ACL tears, and everyone in basketball and football should be lining up and taking you on as a coach here, Tim. Like honestly, when we think about it, like the how drastic of a stat that is, It's crazy, and I know there's a bunch of other stats behind ACL tears and whatnot, and it's those
Hmm.
details. It's those details that matter so much. And as I mentioned that term, I think that term is thrown around a lot. Details, right? What is details? What is not details? And this is something I talk to my guys all the time about when it comes to their movement. But
Hmm.
from your standpoint, what details do you think players really should be focusing on at the end of the day when it comes to their eating?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me from a detail standpoint is just really being consistent with that schedule and routine, right? So like if you don't
Consistency.
know like, hey, this is what I'm having for breakfast at this time, and I'm eating, have your meals kind of like mapped out, like it's just going to throw your day off completely because especially for high school guys, even like college guys, right? It's like everyone has stuff come up throughout the course of the day where it's like, oh, I was going to eat lunch at this time, but then I had to go study, or then I had to go have a meeting, or then X, Y, and Z comes up, right?
Yeah.
So it just really throws off your whole schedule when it's not like planned for. So it's like, you probably have heard, was it the athletes don't plan to fail, they fail to plan kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when you have that schedule built out, it just makes everything so much easier and kind of second nature from that standpoint. And then, from another detail perspective, I think just, in terms of the quality of the food that you're eating, just really kind of taking some like ownership on that and like putting a lot of time and attention and effort in there. Just eating more whole foods, high quality foods, because like that's really going to be a huge difference maker when you're talking about your performance, your progress in the weight room, your weight gain, like those types of things, as opposed to just like kind of filling your body with garbage. Um,
Yeah.
and then even for those guys who want to play at the next level from a supplement standpoint, like again, that's where like the blood work piece really comes in and can be impactful. But for guys who maybe don't have resources like that,
Hit
just
you
being
up.
smart about what's that?
Hit you up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one, hit me up, but two, just like being smart about the supplements that you're taking. I mean, there's so much crap all over the internet, social media, telling you to take this, take that. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's some influencer being paid to say that stuff. It's not actually effective or potentially safe for the athlete. So it's like, talk to someone like myself, like someone like you, right, who kind of knows their stuff around nutrition, supplements, like what is actually going to be effective before you go out there and you're spending, hundreds of dollars on crap that's just not going to move the needle. It's like focus on the big picture things, that foundation, your sleep, your hydration, your nutrition, whatever you choose to do from a recovery standpoint, your hot cold tubs, massage, things like that. Obviously, weight training is a huge piece of that from a performance and injury perspective, but like focus on those things. 'Cause that's really the stuff when you put your time and attention into it, like it will move the needle for you much more than whatever supplements being peddled to you online.
Definitely. Man, man, a wealth of knowledge, really, in all of this, and I really appreciate your time today, Tim. I really, honestly, I'm going to be pushing this live out a lot because I think there's a lot of valuable information. There's a lot of information out there on weightlifting and basketball skills training and shooting and things like that, but I don't think there's enough information, especially when you talk about specific numbers when it comes to basketball. And
Hmm.
I love this. So, I'm really looking forward to just getting this out to as many people as possible. Again, thank you for joining me on this live today, and definitely would love to do more like this in the future with you.
Yeah, for sure. That like you said something right there that makes just too much sense, right? It's like basketball, the basketball players, the demands that are being put on your body, like they're different than social media influencers. They're different than
Yes.
what a baseball player needs, cross country athlete,
Yes.
and so forth. So, like, you have to be eating and even training like a basketball player and doing things that are going to
Yeah,
help you specifically for your sport,
definitely.
as opposed to just trying to, blanket coverage it and say, like, oh, everyone should be doing this or everyone should be eating like this. It's like, that's really just not how it needs to be done and how you should be kind of taking care of your body when you're trying to like get to the next level. It has to be like very individualized, specific to your sport and your body.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Tim. Again, I appreciate having you on here today.
Yeah,
And
likewise, man. This is great.
yeah, for sure. You have a good weekend.
Thanks. Yeah, you too. Take care.
Take care.